Good evening. This is just a very quick video about one aspect of your essay. Now, the 8-mark question most of the time is about a why question. So whenever you see a why question, it will always link to a policy. For example, in this case here, you see explain why. Alright, then the link to a policy known as the Marshall Plan. Alright, so the first thing you need to do is whenever you see a why, it means that whatever policy they mention or whatever event that you see here, there must be a key objective that the USA wants to achieve in adopting this plan. So make your key objectives, alright, your main point. Your main point that will be the anchor for your whole paragraph. Alright. Okay, that will be the anchor for your whole paragraph. So make sure it is something broad. It is something like a key goal. Whenever you plan something, right, you have key goals, key vision. So what is the key vision, the key goals for doing the Marshall Plan? So come up with these two things first. In this case, the two main things are, firstly, to contain communism, right? Contain communism. Second key objective of the Marshall Plan is for economic gains. Alright, now after you finish this, you will elaborate them one by one, so 2 points each. How do you do this elaboration? Okay, you have to ask questions. Most of the time, whenever you have an objective, you must first talk about the background information first. Okay, why adopt the Marshall Plan? Because the USA wants to contain communism. Why exactly do you want to contain communism? So you ask a second why to your first why, right? Why adopt the Marshall Plan? Because the USA wants to contain communism. Why does the USA want to contain communism? What is the background for this, right? What is the background for this? Well, it's because after the war, directly after the war, right, you have a Europe that is facing a lot of famine, a Europe facing a lot of destruction, and facing a lot of poverty. So that is the why, right? You have devastated economies, you have people suffering, you have poverty. So when that happens, alright, why is communism so attractive when that happens? Well, basically because when that happens, right, communism can grow. Because what does communism actually promote? It promotes promises of equality for all. So when you see that after the war you are extremely poor, alright, and you see that there are still rich industrialists, rich people around, you definitely want a better life for yourself, right? So will you continue to support the the capitalist government, which is giving you the poverty that you have today? Alright, no, right? So likely you will support a new form of government, which is what the communist wants to do. So when people are poor, that's when communism can grow, and people will be attracted to communism. And they were poor because of the background of the World War that just happened. Alright, so how is the USA going to combat this thing? Next thing you talk about is how are they going to carry out the Marshall Plan in order to stop this from happening, stop communism from growing? Okay, then you write about what is the Marshall Plan. Basically, it's just a very simple detail: $15 billion economic aid sent to different countries regardless of their communist influence, so that the countries in Europe can rebuild and recover from what? From this, right? From the famine, the destruction, and the poverty that they are facing because of the aftermath of World War II. So that is your details, right? Your details again. You ask the why to your why, right? Why the US adopted Marshall Plan? Contain communism. Why is there a need to contain communism? Because Europe was facing famine, destruction, poverty. This is a hotbed for communism to grow. It's going to attract, because communism attracts promises of equality for all. So how is the US going to combat this through the Marshall Plan? What is it? It's a $15 billion economic aid sent to countries regardless of communist influence to rebuild and recover. So you're done with your details now. Next up, after you have written about the Marshall Plan, the next thing you're going to do is clearly explain to me how this plan can help to meet your key objective, which is your main point, which is to contain communism, right? Going back to your main objective one more time, and that is to contain communism. So this is talking about impact. So what's the implication of giving the financial aid? So first, talk about the direct impact. You're going to kickstart economic recovery. You're giving funds all throughout Europe, right? This is in turn going to kickstart your economic recovery. After you kickstart the economic recovery, what is the subsequent impact? All right. Okay. The main thing is the USA is going to gain influence because you lend them money, right? The moment you lend them, or not even lend, right, is provide money for them. The moment you provide money for them, naturally you're going to get influence because they are going to support you. All right, because when you give them money, it's not even lend, it's give. When you give them money, you yourself, you appear to be very sincere. You appear to be very concerned about their livelihoods, right? About wanting them to escape from the poverty, from the famine, from the destruction. So the subsequent impact of kickstarting your economic recovery is people are going to view you as sincere and concerned. And when they start to grow out of this thing, when you give them the aid, they will grow out of famine, destruction, and poverty, right? When you do that, and they start to see some wealth, some of their money start to grow, and they can escape poverty, that is when communism will become less appealing, right? You don't need equality anymore because you have managed to find wealth for yourself. So communism will become less appealing due to the economic growth and stability that came from the USA's funds. All right. And then when you offer this to the communist countries, the Soviets will become undermined. All right. Because the communism grew very slowly at the very start. Because in a nutshell, communism is more about, right, sharing resources or giving the resources to the Soviet Union, right? So they will be undermined when they look at their neighbor at the west of Europe and they see that the Western European countries are starting to prosper, starting to grow, starting to make a better life for themselves. They themselves will be undermined, right? The people in the Eastern European countries will start to think, hey, maybe communism is not the way to go. Maybe we should also revolt, right, and move over to the capitalist system and support the USA. As such, when countries start to experience the economic prosperity, that is when communism will become less appealing. So after you've written this down, it clearly shows that your objective has been met, right? Communism has indeed been contained because the USA, through the Marshall Plan, has helped provide enough funds for these countries to grow so that communism will be less appealing and the Soviets will be undermined. All right, so a lot of thinking actually goes into your essay. But most importantly, find out first what is your key objective and explain from there. All right, second key objective, of course, is your economic gains. More importantly, is the economic gains of the USA. Right, we don't just give money for nothing, okay? So why do you need these economic gains? Again, your details, right? You will talk about the background, right? Why you need the economic gains? Talk about the background first, which is the same thing again. All right. Firstly, what is the nature of the USA capitalist system? Is that it's highly dependent on allies and trading partners. All right. So if you can get Europe to start trading with you, you yourself will make money as well. So talk about that first. The nature of the capitalist system in the USA depends a lot on trade. Next thing in your background, you will talk about same thing as the previous paragraph, which is Europe. Why is what happened to Europe after World War II, which is devastation and destruction. One more time, poverty, and they need help to grow. All right, most of their economies are destroyed because of the war. So then after that, after your why, right, you'll write how. So elaborate a little bit of the Marshall Plan. Again, it's a bit repetitive, but just write a little bit and say what is the Marshall Plan one more time. $14 billion help to kickstart the economic recovery of the countries in Europe. Alright, then now I'm moving on to my explanation part. Right, so what if I do that? What is the direct impact of giving them the aid? Naturally, your direct impact will be Europe will start to recover, Europe will start to prosper. Okay, so but I have not linked it to my economic gains objective yet, so I must link it some more. After you say Europe will recover and prosper, then the subsequent impact of them recovering and prospering is they will feel indebted to the USA, and they will start to trade, because USA is the one that gave them money in the first place to grow their economies. So subsequently, naturally, they will want to trade back with the USA. And when you trade back with the USA, that's when the USA can make their money back again. Alright? And in turn, it's like the USA has more markets to sell their goods over in Europe, right? So the more they sell, the more money they make. And so with boost trade, your objective is finally met, right? You have obtained economic gains for the USA. Alright? So that is the linking to your main point. So in a nutshell, when you write your essay, right, when you see the why question and you see a policy or event, make sure you find out what is the key objectives first. And then you're going to slowly explain. Write about the background, write about the how, and then write about how these things are going to meet your key objective, right? All your details. What is the Marshall Plan? How does it meet the key objective? Talk about direct impact, talk about subsequent impact, and after that, you link it to your key objective that you wrote. Hence, your key objective, your main points must be very, very, very clear and very broad yet direct. Okay, so that is how you do the why question for your 8 mark.